Hey guys, what is going on? We are back on the Tier Maker website, and that can only mean one thing. We are ranking something here today, and we are taking a look at all of the SMGs in this Season 4 update of Vanguard. It's been a little while since we've done one of these videos, but the SMGs are in a pretty good spot at the moment. So let's take a look at our ranking explanations here. At the bottom, we do have the green tier, which is the dumpster. You don't want to be in this tier. These are very, very bad weapons. Above that, not bad. Weapons that are sort of getting there, only usable in certain situations usually. Pretty good. Middle of the road tier, weapons that you can definitely find yourself using and have a good time with. Above that is the almost meta tier, which are weapons that are pushing for the top spot in the game, and then the red tier at the tip top is the meta tier S tier, weapons that are very, very powerful right now, and there's a couple in this list, which is actually very, very cool. Speaking of, starting us off here, we do have the M1928, which is widely regarded as one of the best guns in the game, if not just straight up the best gun in the game. It just has basically everything that you could want. The damage range is a little bit short, but for the most other stats, like the damage number, you get a 3-shot kill, 180 millisecond time to kill, good handling speeds, good reload, it's just a fantastic gun where you get 100 rounds in the mag if you do choose, and it's just one of the best guns going around. So this is like one of the best guns in the game, so we're going to put it at the top of the meta tier. Next, we do have the MP40 here, which is another gun that's actually pretty decent. The TTK is a little bit slower than some of the other best guns in the game, but it's still really easy to control, an absolute classic gun in Call of Duty history, and just one of the better looking weapons going around, especially with those nice clean iron sights that you can get. They look super sweet. However, just because that TTK is just a little bit slower than we'd like it to be, we're going to put this at the almost meta tier. We could shift this spot around, maybe sort of at the bottom, middle, or the top of the almost meta tier. I haven't really decided yet, and we'll get there in a minute. The next one that we do have here is the Owen Gun. Now, we did actually fix the Owen Gun a little while ago. Apparently, one of the sights that we can use actually does improve this and allows you to sort of not have the magazine on the top of the gun on basically blocking off the right hand side of your screen, and this is a pretty decent change. Because of that change, the actual TTK and the recoil stats and the handling speed stats with this thing are actually pretty decent. It's not a trash tier gun like it was previously, because we'd actually worked out how we can make this thing actually usable. We're going to put this thing in the pretty good tier. I say probably a middle of the road weapon, about as middle of the road as it gets. Decent TTK stats, pretty decent handling, does fire quite slowly, does affect the TTK a little bit, and if you weren't using that particular sight, say you wanted to use a slate reflector, the magazine does block the right hand side of your screen, so you do typically only have one or two sight options. Next, we do have the PPSH here, which is another one of those guns that is very, very strong in this game. This did actually receive a buff in one of the recent updates. I believe it was the Season 3 Reloaded patch, where this did actually get changed, received a significant boost to its smaller caliber rounds, and the TTK is actually very, very similar to the larger rounds, which is actually really, really cool. Fast fire rate, this is one of the fastest fire rates going around, man. This thing is an absolute bullet hose. You get heaps of bullets in the mag. The recoil's manageable. It's a little bit bouncy, but it's definitely controllable, and it is actually a really, really fun weapon to use. Again, another absolute classic weapon in the game. This is very, very powerful with that fast TTK and fast fire rate. So we're going to put this in the meta tier as well. It's probably a little bit worse than the M1928, as it's a little harder to control, but again, a very, very powerful SMG right now. Next, we do have the Sten here, which again is another pretty decent weapon in this game. This again did receive a little bit of a buff, I believe, again in the Season 3 Reloaded update, just increasing the damage number this thing does, making it get a 3-shot kill within its damage range, which is about 12 meters or so. So again, within its damage range, you're getting about 180, 200-ish millisecond time to kill, which again is quite competitive. Recoil's not too bad on this thing. The magazine, when you are attack sprinting, does get in the way. Again, it sort of fits on the right-hand side of your screen. It's not ideal, but again, this is one of those guns. Did get a little buff recently, and it is actually pretty good now. So you can probably guess where we're going to put this thing. Middle of the road tier. I guess this is probably towards the back of the middle of the road tier. It's not the best, but it's definitely usable now than it was before. The next one that we do have here is the Type 100. Now, this thing is absolutely fantastic for medium range. This is like the longer distance SMG in the game. Most of them do have quite short damage ranges for the most part, as they should. They are close combat weapons, but this sort of does get extended out a little bit, and similar to another weapon that we're about to talk about. The Type 100 is capable of fighting at medium distances, which is really, really cool. You do get 174 millisecond time to kill with this thing at the right distances, which is about 15-20 meters or so, and that makes this thing very, very usable. Again, the magazine can be a little bit short. It's like 30 rounds, which is obviously not ideal when you can go with 100 in something like an M1928. But again, fast TTK, easy to control recoil, really good damage numbers. This thing is just an absolute monster. So we're going to put this at the bottom of the meta tier. This could probably switch places with the PPSH, and you probably put these in any order you do prefer. This is the order that I like, and it's going to go in the meta tier. Next one is the Welgun here. Now, this is a weapon that has received numerous changes throughout its life cycle. I believe it came in the Season 2 update off the top of my head. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, I can't really remember, but this thing was an absolute menace when it did come out. It was like a 2-shot kill, it was absolutely busted. The TTK was like 100 milliseconds. They definitely reined this thing in a little bit from how it was previously. You can't really get a 2-shot kill anymore, it just doesn't happen. so we are relying on that 3-shot kill, which the TTK can be a little bit slow with. Again, this is another one of those weapons that did receive a pretty significant change to its smaller caliber rounds, allowing it to get a similar, like 180-ish 200 millisecond TTK and a 3-shot kill within its damage range of about 10-12 meters or so. Again, not an outstanding damage range number, but again, it's an SMG, so you got to fight up close with it. So this thing's actually still quite good in the game. It's just not as overpowered and busted as it used to be previously. This used to be like the #1 SMG, or probably #1 weapon in the game at one point. It has fallen off a little bit. It's going to go in the middle of the almost meta tier, just because it's a little worse than it used to be, but still quite good. Next, we do have another sort of medium to longer range SMG, which is actually very, very cool. This thing plays a little bit like a sort of SMG, like assault rifle hybrid, and that is the Armaguerra 43. The damage range is really, really strong, as we mentioned, but the TTK can be a little lackluster. Like, it's only slightly slower than some of the other top tier weapons. It's about 200 milliseconds. I think you can still get a 3-shot kill with this thing, making it quite powerful, but again, little slower than we probably prefer. The recoil on this thing is really, really manageable. Again, one of those medium range SMGs is super, super strong. All the other stats on this thing we really do like: your movement speeds, handling speeds, sort of all that lovely stuff. Still a quite good weapon. Again, the TTK does sort of let us down a little bit here. Magazine can feel a little weird sometimes, so we are going to put this at the top of the pretty good tier, but this is one of those that could probably slide into the almost meta tier as well. Maybe at the bottom of it. If we had a tier in between these two, we'd probably put it in there. Next, we do have one of the newer SMGs added to the game. This was added in the Season 3 Reloaded update, and this is the H4 Blixen. This is a very, very cool weapon in the game. It does perform very similar to something like an Owen Gun, I believe, is what it's sort of modeled after, I think, off the top of my head. But again, this is one that does deal quite a large amount of damage. I believe you still get that 3-shot kill at about 180-ish 200 milliseconds with this kind of thing. Handling speeds are good, iron sights are really clean. Like, the recoil's pretty manageable as far as I can remember. Again, this is another one of those ones, just if it had a little bit of faster things, like faster TTK, a little more damage here and there, easy to control recoil, it probably would go in the top tier as well. But just because there's a little bit of jank with some of the attachments, we're going to put this in the almost meta tier, just below the Welgun, I believe. But again, you probably could switch these out for each other and you probably wouldn't mess up the list. This is just where I believe this thing goes at the moment. It's decent. Almost meta is pretty much a perfect place for something like this. Now, you might notice that we have two guns that do look very, very similar. The one on the left is the Marco 5, and the blue sort of purpley looking one on the right, we're going to go with the Akimbo Marco 5, because I feel like these do play completely differently here. Again, this is a basically separate weapon list, so putting this on here twice just because they do perform quite differently, and they are very, very different in their play styles. However, the Marco 5, starting off with just one of them, I believe this is a pretty decent weapon in the game. The damage range, again, is a little short, but you do get a very fast kill with this thing. It's about, again, 180-ish milliseconds with that TTK, as long as you are getting a 3-shot kill within its damage range of about 10-12 meters or so, I believe it is. I think it's like 11.5 meters off the top of my head. Again, this weapon's quite good at those close range combat, and then the recoil, pretty easy to manage. The handling speeds are actually really, really good in this thing. I think that aim down sight speed's like 150-ish milliseconds with the right attachments. Very, very powerful stuff. Aim walking movement speed's actually really good with this thing as well. But again, the damage range does let this thing down a little bit and stops it from moving into the absolute meta tier. I'm going to put this at the sort of back of the almost meta tier, maybe in the middle again. It could probably, again, swap out either place for these weapons. It's sort of like in here-ish. Really, really good up close. Absolutely deletes people. But again, that damage range, a little short. So it's going to go in the almost meta tier. And the last one, as we did mention, is the Akimbo Marco 5. We got this in the blue just to differentiate it a little bit. I'm really not sure where to put these things. If you consider how powerful it is within its damage range, like within its damage range up close at about 5 to 10 meters or so, you absolutely delete people from the game. I believe it sits at about 80-ish millisecond TTK. Like, you remove people from the game. It is ridiculous how fast this thing does kill up close. But again, then you think about the drawbacks, and you can't aim down sight with this thing, so you can't fight even at sort of like medium range. It's probably too much for this thing for the most part. So again, you do have to fight in those close quarters, and on certain maps, this is easily going to be one of the best guns in the game. But however, if it's like longer lines of sight, slightly bigger stuff, even Dust House can feel a little long sometimes with those sort of like long corridor looking things. Can feel a little long there. So again, this is a very, very specific tool. Up close, this thing is an absolute monster though. This is ridiculous. I don't really know where to put this thing. If this was the situational tier like we've had it previously, this would be perfect for it. So we'd probably put it in something like that. But it might go at the bottom of the pretty good tier, or maybe in the not bad tier. I know some of you out there would probably just chuck this in the dumpster and not worry about it because it's like a gimmick meme kind of thing. But I mean, I'm going to put this in the not bad tier just because it is a little bit different to everything else in the game. I'd love to see Akimbo get added to a lot of these other SMGs. I think that would be very, very cool. A nice little way to sort of congratulate all the people who are still playing the game. Imagine Akimbo M1928. People would just lose their mind and it'd be hilarious. But again, that is going to be our list here today. If you do disagree with me or you do think I should change anything, make sure you let me know in the comments. While you are there, make sure you hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on. I do very much appreciate it. And while you are there as well, hit the like button because that really does get these videos to as many people as possible and help cut through the YouTube algorithm. So again, thanks for watching this one, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye!